Hello everyone and welcome to the Aryan online learning classes of English. I'm Ms. Anita Rawat. In my previous video, Indigo Part 2, I discussed with you the first 3 pages of the lesson. Now in Part 3, I'll be taking up the next 3 pages. Dear children, up to now you have read how Rajkumar Shukla succeeded in taking Gandhiji to Champaran to solve the problems of indigo sharecroppers. Now, what was their problem? Let's see again. In Champaran, most of the fertile land was divided into large estates, and these estates were owned by Englishmen, means Britishers were the landlords, and Indian farmers were tenants, means they had taken land for farming from Britishers on rent, and they were sharecroppers as they were asked to grow indigo in 15% of their land and to surrender the entire indigo harvest as rent of the land. This was a long term contract. But meanwhile, Germany developed synthetic indigo, which was very cheap. So now the landlords freed the farmers from sharecropping system and they asked for compensation in terms of money. Means now these peasants were asked to pay the rent of the land in terms of money. Many peasants did not like sharecropping system, so they easily gave money. But when they came to know about synthetic indigo, they wanted their money back. And the British landlords were not ready to refund the money. So, to solve this problem, Gandhiji was called to Champaran. You look at the sentence, at this point, Gandhiji arrived in Champaran. Now, children, Gandhiji was one such person who did everything with great planning. So, here also, Gandhiji decided to collect all the information pertaining to this issue. So, first of all, he went to meet the secretary of British Landlords Association. But the secretary refused to give him any information, saying that he was an outsider. Next, Gandhiji went to meet the commissioner, official commissioner of the Tirhut division. The commissioner did not give him any information. Instead, he tried to bully Gandhiji. He tried to dominate Gandhiji and he ordered him to leave Champaran immediately. But Gandhiji did not leave. He had gone there to solve the problems of sharecroppers and he was going to solve it. So he did not leave Champaran. Instead, he went to the capital of Champaran, that is Motihari. In Motihari, he was received by a huge gathering of people. Now, Gandhiji made one house in Motihari his office and he started staying there. One day, Gandhiji got a report that a farmer was ill treated in one of the nearby villages. You'll find the information in this paragraph. And Gandhiji decided to go there on elephant back. You must have heard the saying, children, that strike the iron when it is hot. So that time naturally emotions were running very high. So Gandhiji took that opportunity and he went to that village where that farmer was cruelly treated by the British landlords. But he had just started from Motihari when police superintendent's messenger came there. He stopped Gandhiji and he served him an official order to leave Champaran immediately. He asked Gandhiji to come to his vehicle and to sign that order of the government. Gandhiji received it, but he refused to obey the order. Now, Gandhiji had refused to obey official order. So, as a result, a case was registered in the court against Gandhiji and he was summoned to court the next day. Now, meanwhile, what Gandhiji did, he informed Dr. Rajendra Prasad and all the other famous lawyers about all these developments. Now, in the morning of the day, when Gandhiji was called to the court, thousands of peasants gathered outside the court in support of Gandhiji. It became difficult for the British officials to control the crowd. They had to take help of Gandhiji to control these pageants outside the courthouse. And see, Gandhiji happily did that. He agreed. This was an excellent show of civil disobedience. What was unfair, Gandhiji disobeyed. But when the Britishers wanted Gandhiji's help to control the crowd, to maintain law and order, so Gandhiji agreed to do that. And the presence of villagers and the peasants outside the courthouse in such large number, it was a proof that now the Indians were going to be free from the fear of Britishers. Now these peasants were no longer afraid of British officials. Now, children, what happened? Gandhiji was called to the court, and this court scene is really very important. You'll find here in this paragraph. In the court, Gandhiji accepted that he was guilty because he had disobeyed an official order. In the court, he spoke about conflict of duties. Conflict of duties means when you have to choose one thing out of two. So he said he did not want to be a lawbreaker. He didn't want to break the law, but he had to help the poor sharecroppers. So that was the conflict of duties for Gandhiji. So he decided to follow the higher law. That was the voice of his conscience. That was his inner voice. And that inner voice told him not to leave these sharecroppers alone. So that is why he disobeyed the order. But he clearly said in the court that he was guilty and he asked for the due punishment for that. Now, see the dilemma with the magistrate there in the court. The magistrate knew the support of thousands of peasants being with Gandhiji. So he could not give any decision against him. So what he did, he gave him 2-3 hours interval, and meanwhile he asked Gandhiji to file the bail for his release. But Gandhiji refused to file the bail. So finally, the judge had to release him without any bail. So see, children, without any violence, Gandhiji made the British government to surrender. This was Gandhiji's greatness. Now he was released from the court. So Gandhiji then met famous lawyers of that area. Like you can see some names here. Dr. Rajendra Prasad, Brish Kishore Babu, Maulana Majrul Haq, and many others. So Gandhiji asked them that if he was sent to jail, what they would do. And the lawyer said that they had come to help Gandhiji. If he went to jail, so they would go back home, right? Then they won't have any work. But then Gandhiji made them realize that if, as an outsider, he was ready to go to jail for these sharecroppers, so it would be shameful for lawyers not to help them. As the lawyers were from neighboring districts, and moreover, they were claiming that they were fighting for these sharecroppers. So the lawyers reviewed their decision and they decided to go to jail with Gandhiji. And at this point, Gandhiji said that the battle of Champaran is won. In advance, Gandhiji declared that they had won the battle. And why so, children? Because now Indians had got united. Now these lawyers, influential lawyers, were also there in support of the peasants. And once they got united, so that means victory was there for sure. Now, after many days, you'll see here that after several days, Gandhiji received a written communication from British government saying that the case against Gandhiji was dropped. So this was the first victory of civil disobedience movement in Champaran. Now, what happened to the case of the sharecroppers? Whether they got their money back or not, we'll see in the next video. So let's quickly see the key points of the portion that we discussed today. See, Gandhiji reached Champaran to solve the problems of sharecroppers. He met the secretary of the British Landlords Association and British official commissioner of the Tirhut division, who refused to give him any information and asked him to leave Champaran. Gandhiji did not leave, and instead he proceeded ahead to Motihari. When he heard that a farmer was maltreated in a village, he decided to go there. But he was stopped on the way by the police superintendent's messenger, and he was served an official order to leave Champaran immediately. Gandhiji signed the receipt and he wrote on it that he would disobey the order. Consequently, he was summoned to court the next day. Now, thousands of peasants from all over Champaran gathered outside the court in support of Gandhiji. That puzzled the officials, and they had to take help of Gandhiji to control the crowd, that he readily did. In the court, he spoke about conflict of duties. You remember the court scene? He said that he disobeyed the order to follow the higher law, that was the voice of his conscience, that asked him to stay back and to help the sharecroppers. So that is why he had to disobey the official order. He pleaded guilty and he asked for the penalty due. The judge could not give any decision and released Gandhiji even without any bail. Then Gandhiji met the lawyers and made them realize that they should fight against injustice being done with sharecroppers. The lawyers agreed, and Gandhiji declared the Battle of Champaran is won. After several days, the case against Gandhiji was dropped, and for the first time, civil disobedience won in modern India. So, after reading this, children, you must be feeling great about Gandhiji. And again, I'm leaving you with this picture of Champaran Satyagraha. You can see this Satyagraha movement led by Gandhiji. And again, I'm showing you these pictures so that you could also feel that pride in being Indians. So that's all for today. Rest will be in the next video. Till then, thank you. Have a good time.